gone ahead and done a couple of things to the engine. I've put the manifold on, the fuel lift pump. I've actually got a lifting eye here, the back plate, the front thermostat housing, just things that we're just bolting a cover on, and not that technical at all. Some of the pipes, remember when we pulled it off, the pipe that come down the side there, I've popped them on, Loctited them on, and I've just sat the rocker gear down on, and the rocker gear gets its oil supply from this little fitting here. So early in the piece, just do that up, make sure, try and make sure everything's sitting down close to where it will be. And that should seal as like an olive on the pipe. Then these are 3/8 UNF threads that hold the rocker gear on. Now there is a tension for the rocker gear, and I never bother with it. Like a 3/8 bolt normally has around 35 foot-pounds. I just do them up. I can't imagine it making any difference much. Every bolt has a torque, but some are more important on an engine than another, like on the big end bolts and main bearings and that. By putting a correct torque on those housings, when they clamp, you ensure that they stay a circle and not go out of shape from over or under torquing, so you have a complete circle. This just holds an alloy bracket on. Can't see the big deal. So I just nip them up. And that's good enough. Pop this, just check this once more. Beautiful, eh? Now, I got a thermostat from town the other day, and I've left that part loose just to show you, and just so I can show you dropping a nut there. Oh, too much Sunday lunch. Right, now, this thermostat, you'll see it can go this way in or that way. This way goes to your engine, so it's got the bulb, the wax plug at the bottom, and when temperature gets to that, it opens up and lets the flow through to your radiator at a precise rate. Now the thing with thermostats, if they bugger up out in the paddock on you, and or you know, you're out on a road or something and your thermostat lets you down, you keep getting hot for no real reason. Well, what you can do is cut this here, cut the top bail off, the bottom bail, down through here, and just put the restriction back in. So it still lets the coolant through your engine at a set rate, but there's no chance of it jamming shut and cooking the engine. Now you'll also see on this little thermostat there's a little jiggler, little valve there, and I often go for that as a thermostat. And look, all that does, it's a little hole, and when you fill your cooling system up, it lets the air out. Like it'll let the air bubble up through there, and I suppose it can seal up there a bit, but it doesn't seem to. And even with thermostats I've bought without that, I've often drilled a little hole just in the side there, you know, just a 1/8 hole, and it makes filling a lot easier. So to fit your thermostat, you make sure the wax plug goes down, and on ours there's a little place for that. Now I've got a bit of the beautiful black goo. This is a ripper can, been around a long time. So we put a little bit around there. I can't seem to get a little bit on with this brush just at the moment, so anyway. So there's plenty too much, but that's it's a bit much. Wipe your hands on your pants, don't tell your missus, that's important. It's important when they say, how'd you get so dirty, that you say, I don't know. That's part of mechanicking. We taught that at trade school. Okay, now make sure that's all lining up nicely. I've noticed with the front pulley and the water pump pulley, I'm not sure the water pump pulley is exactly in line, so we may have to visit that. Yeah. So we've gone from fitting the rocker gear to putting a thermostat in, all over the road. But anyway, that's just to get that job out of the way. We still have to finish the alternator bracket. We've had Christmas, so it's sort of, I lost my momentum. Had fun, but lost my momentum. Once again, 35 foot-pounds, 3/8 bolt, see? And the elbow goes, when you just get to the right thing, the elbow goes click. Beautiful, Lance. How do I do it for the price? Okay. Now we've got number 1 piston sitting up on we've got it firing on number 1, if you remember when we put the cam in. So that means that the 2 lobes are flat. They're not coming up to open a valve, they're not closing a valve. We could rock this pulley back and forth a little bit, which we may do. But I can see the top of the piston through the injector hole there. So what I need to do is make sure I've got the loose rocker here. Okay, now the setting's 12 thousandths of an inch, 12 thou, so when I find my feeler gauges here, I should put my glasses on really, shouldn't I? So 12 thou, 0.305 of a millimetre. So now I'll find a spanner to hold the bottom of the, and look, all we do is take that up and you run the feeler gauge through on top of the valve, between the valve and the rocker, and you take it until you can just feel it drag through there. And with the feeler gauge in, I find with these ones, if you just turn that up by finger there, that's pretty good. You know, there's no tension on that. So we bring the lock nut down. So we need to hold the bottom one with the 12 gauge, the 12 thou feeler gauge in. Just take him up till it's firm with your finger there. I still do have to replace one of these bolts. I can't get one, and I just wanted to button this a little bit up. It's something I'll catch up with a little bit later on. But yeah, over the Christmas break I just couldn't find one, so we'll just take that up till it touches. Hold the top one. Bring this bottom one down. The tappet can't turn because this bottom spanner's holding it there. Getting warm. Low 30 degrees here at the moment. That's a little firm. I need to back that off just a bit. That's pretty good. Now hold the top one and just nip the bottom. Now don't get too big fisted, there's no need, it's a lock nut. Okay, so that's good. Number one's okay. Okay, number two. Bring him round. Pop that in. Oh shit. Pop that in. Nip him up. That's feeling good. So we just try, at this stage we just hold the top one and we run the bottom one down to touch the tappet or the cam follower. Sometimes when you pull this nut down it brings the thread up a little bit and so it goes a bit tighter than you'd expect. That's a little too tight, friends. Everyone has their own feel for this. I know 12 thou is 12 thou, but everyone has their own feel. I'll just nip this up again and see if it wants to stay. Okay, so number two's just coming up. And you'll notice that the valves are both down about the same amount. These fellas here are coming up a little bit, so. All right. So number two here, I can just see where the injector goes, that the piston was coming up then, and I can tell it's firing on the right place because if you look at how far these two are sticking out, we have one way higher here, so we know number three's not firing. We have an exhaust opening up on number one, so we know number one's not firing. So we're all good in the centre here. So once again, we just put the spanner there. Hey, see that? Should be playing cricket for Australia. Someone should be playing cricket for Australia. The Australian cricket team's not doing very well. Okay, put the feeler gauge in. Take it up till it touches. Screw the lock nut down by finger. that and nip the lock nut up. A little bit tight. Still a little tight. I was trying to cheat that one. There we go, number 12 is fine. Nip the lock nut up and check it again. Okay, that's good. Feeler gauge in, cam follower adjuster out. Lock nut down to the new cam follower. Then I really like screw it down just a little bit. When you tighten the lock nut, you seem to pick up that bit again for some reason. Yeah, that one's good. Let's nip this lock nut up. Yep, that's good. Okay, now we've only got this back one left, number 3. And we're both down as far as we can. Same job. Feeler gauge in. Take it up till it touches, bring the nut down. Lock the cam follower. Oh, right first time. Oh. I don't know if you can hear that. It's not thunder, it's just a little rumble now and then, and it's the wind on the big front doors. I haven't actually put a wooden chock in. Often I need to put a wooden chock in there just to keep the sound at a minimum. It's nice working here in an open shed in country Australia. I've got the back door open. It's 20 foot wide by 16 foot high. This one behind us here, where you can see, yeah, that's washing out a bit wide. I probably should have closed that over. That's the same size, and I've got 20 foot, another 20 foot by 16 foot at the front. So we get a nice summer breeze through, but what happens with the summer breeze is, it plays havoc with the sound on the videos. So anyway, we've put a bit of time and effort into that recently. So hopefully we're on top of it. We've got microphones with dead cats. Oops. Wrong way. Right, we'll run the nut down. Run the bolt up just by finger with the feeler gauge in at 12 thousandths of an inch. .0305. No, 0.305. Hold the top, lock the bottom. Too much. That's lovely. So in direction of rotation, we can see inlet coming in on number 1. That's exhaust going out. Inlet coming in. We'll just check them again. Exhaust pushing out. No, inlet's coming in, sorry. There we go, lovely, tell your mother. Now, I do need to tidy the tappet cover gasket up, and what we'll do, I tidy this up, clean it all up, and then I get a bit of contact bare glue, you know, your contact cement, and I put a little bit on this and a bit on the gasket. So what that does for us is, so when we pop the tappet cover on, usually when you've done an engine up, you like to pull it off and tension the head again and redo the tappets and things like that. Well, with bare contact on this side, the gasket sticks to here, and you put a bit of oil on the head side, so you can just pop it off and the gasket stays here without tearing. And another advantage is that when you do tighten it up, cork gaskets tend to want to move off a little bit sometimes. You know, they'll pop in out of the way, and with them glued on they can't. So I'll go and tidy all this up, and yeah, we'll pop it on. Well, I've cleaned the tappet cover up, or the rocker cover up, and you think I could find some bloody contact cement, so off to the hardware store for that tomorrow or next time I go to town. But I cleaned it all up. I spray around the edge here with a bit of brake clean just to make sure there's no oily residue. This had a little dint up the back of it, and I took that out to the anvil and panel beated that. So we're going to just sit this top on. I'm not going to put the nuts on for the moment, and I'll just slide the breather on there so I don't forget. And that will have to come off once more, and I've got to do the contact cement on the gasket. So Look, that part of the engine's done. There's nothing more to revisit in there. So look, I probably won't show you putting the contact cement on. It's just a matter of put a bit of glue on the tappet cover, then you put a little bit on the gasket, and once it goes a bit tacky on the fingers, you put them together, line it all up and let it set, and it'll become part of the tappet cover there. Now, on top of the tappet cover here, or the rocker cover, there's two washers, and there was like probably an asbestos washer in years gone by, a fibrous washer. This is one of the only places I ever use a silicone product, and because it's a tin cover and it will move a bit, I do run a little bit of silicone round there to put the screws down, then nip it up. And but that's about the only place I put up with using it. So this bolt here that holds the pipe, I'll leave that loose for the moment, just because we have to pop it on and off and get that bit finished up. This other side here, I can probably turn it around, and we've got to look at putting the injector studs in. Now I do need to test the injectors yet. I've got a cheap injector tester. And I got it off eBay and it worked okay for a little while, but just lately every time I go to use it, it gets stuck in the plunger, so I've got to work on it before I can actually test the injectors myself. So I've got to sneak through that yet. Look, they're a good thing. It's good to have an injector tester when you're doing this. The reason it's good is that you don't want to spend the money on the nice new pistons, rings and all that, then just have an injector that's pouring fluid into that bore and washing the oil off and wrecking your hard work. And you also need to know that it's atomising properly, so if it's dribbling, you can wash the bore a bit and you get a little bit of white smoke out the pipe sometimes. It's unburnt fuel because it hasn't atomised properly. So you need to have a look that it's a nice spray pattern. It's set at the correct pressures, they're all up at the correct pressure. One thing I do with the injectors, on an older pump like this, older engine, you have a high and a low setting for the spray. It might be, let's just say 2,500 pounds per square inch to 2,600 pounds per square inch. I'll probably go the bottom one, just because the pump's getting a bit old, I don't know, and as long as it's atomising fine, you can pop it up the top end there, like if everything's new, pop it up the top end and get it to spray, but if you can get a good spray at the lower pressure, that's how I choose to do it. You might have a different story on how you do it, so I can get the studs and all in, but I can't test the injectors. This thing, you press the lever down and the plunger stays up there, the bastard. So I'll have to fix that, and when I get that done, we will test the injectors. I'll show you how. And new nozzles for these, you can buy aftermarket injector nozzles and put them in. I've tried them, I've tested them, I've mucked around with them. I can't fault them. The local diesel shop, I took I gave some to a customer and said I had a good run. He took them to the local diesel shop and he said, I'm not putting that shit in. And but look, we've had engines running for years with them, so and they've tested well in our experience. So okay, so that's going to be it for this part of it. We'll see what else we can get up to a bit later on, eh?